Hello, hot people. How are we? You know what is nice? To see so many familiar faces. I'm pretty sure most of you have come to every single workshop. So, firstly, thank you so much. I hope that you are loving it. Are we excited? Yeah? I can only see Erin's face on my screen, and Erin's excited. She got little spirit fingers going. So I love that. We love some spirit fingers for our day. Hello, hello. Okay, amazing. I am so excited. It is going to be more mindset related. However, the reason we have to do this stuff first, and there will be strategy more towards the end, is because working with clients, the amount of times that I have had a client and we've worked out that we need to effectively double their rates. Okay. So we run the profitability and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We're not profitable in anything. We have to have a bit of a restructure. And what's really interesting is it's like a lot of the time we think, I just need the strategy. Just tell me exactly what to do and I'll go and do it. But if I told you to go and just double your pricing and then go out and sell it, there is a chance that there would be so much apprehension with that and a lot of stuff would come up. So for that reason, we're going to be doing a lot of this work today to really get you to kind of see where you may be holding yourself back and just some little sneaky things that could be coming up that kind of prevent you from charging more. I love doing these workshops. I love that you are here. I would love for you post-workshop to do a bit of a Google review. And I have something to sweeten of why you are going to want to do this Google review, because I woke up today and you know what, everyone? I was feeling generous. So keep watching because I have a really fun little freebie that you are going to love, okay? So let's get into it. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you have come along to my workshops, but in case you haven't, hi everyone, I'm Peter. I've been doing this for a very, 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 very long time. To make this applicable to really what we're doing today, the first offer that I ever sold within my business was $10 Pilates classes. You could come and you could buy a pack of 5 Pilates classes for $50. And because I was so quiet, sometimes that would be a private. You'd pay $10 for private. And the amount of work that I've had to do over the years to get to a point now where, you know, being like a business consultant and an advisor, we obviously bill very differently. And let me tell you, there was a real process to kind of go through this to make sure that I wasn't like underselling myself. So I have gone through like a whole journey with this and know as well that all of the advice that I'm giving you today, everything, you know, when I create these slides, I of course look and I see who registers for this, but I also think back to my past self and everything that she went to and all of the businesses that she has had. So it really doesn't matter what you're doing, what you're selling, who your customer is, you are going to be able to take something from today. All right. Now let's get started. Charge your worth. It's really funny. The title of this workshop was it was clickbait. If you can call a workshop clickbait. The reason this is clickbait is no one can charge their worth. You just can't. And I say that because our worth, we have infinite value. We cannot put a price tag on us, our energy, like everything, us as a person. And what is really interesting here is when I have conversations with clients and they will say things to me like, I feel like I'm not charging my worth. And what is really interesting when I hear that is I'm like, oh, you've forgotten that you're a business. You've forgotten in that moment that people aren't paying you. They're not buying you. Like, yes, they are buying the transformation that you deliver. But when we look at it like this, it's like they're not really buying us. So what I want to say is that whenever I feel that there's a lot of personal stuff coming up, is to just check yourself, and this is really challenging, and ask yourself, am I getting too personally invested in this? And am I forgetting that I'm a business? And when we look at pricing, this is a business decision. And that makes it really, really simple. And it makes it so much easier. And the reason is that as we go through today, that you're just making a business decision. That's it. And you're a business, and businesses are designed to make money. So anytime you hear someone say, oh, charge your worth, or I need to charge my worth. What I want you to remember is as a business, people will pay for a transformation, an outcome, something to feel better. We think about the services, the offers, the products that we sell. Think about that for a second. People pay to get a particular outcome. They're not going to be like, Erin is the greatest human on earth. Like everyone's thinking that, okay? They're like, Erin is the greatest human on earth. You know, this is a $7 download that she's selling, but I'm actually going to write her in my will because she's so exceptional. This is worth so much more than that, right? So I want you to just break up with this belief for a second. And what we're going to start to do is think about how can we actually like really look at your offers, products, and services like a business. And what you may be finding is when we get too personally invested and we want to prove ourselves, this is where we may get into like a habit of over-delivering. And this is something I see quite a lot with clients. They'll have a price increase, and guess what happens? They don't just have a price increase, they add more deliverables. And I'm like, okay, you're actually losing money. This happened with a client that I had recently, and she doubled the cost of her offer. Now that sounds good, doesn't it? You're like, let me just double the cost. You think that you would bring more profit in. She had moved the container from half a day to 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, we've actually gone backwards very fast. So we want to make sure that we don't do that because that's a little sneaky block. So first thing, you are not your business. Even if your accountant tells you you are a sole trader, you are your business, you are not your business. You work for your business. Your business is a separate entity. It's a separate energy. And what is so incredible about this is when you have separation from your business, you will start to run your business in a way where you feel like that you can take your energy out, you can take a step back, and your business will still be there and thriving, okay? And that's really what we want. But what we don't want to see is that whenever anything happens within our business, it is a direct correlation on us. Now, I'm not saying if you're like not selling and you're like, well, my business should be doing this. What I'm saying is that let's pretend that you present a proposal or you send a payment link, or you put an offer out, or you teach a beautiful workshop with a call to action at the end. And you are like, you've had a really good experience. I would love to work together. Pay me money. And if they are like, well, no, I don't know. I really don't know if I see the value. Really pay attention to what comes up, okay? And how you may be taking this on personally. What we want to start to do is have some separation, because where this can get murky is when we start to kind of take things on as our stuff. So when we think about charging and pricing, we just want to take charging our worth and put that to the side. We are charging for the transformation, we are charging for the results, and we are charging for the role that our business plays in that. So we want to be really conscious of things that we say. And when we talk about pricing, and if, we're having a little bit of a low month or something is happening, the statements that we say. So when we think about charging your worth, it's quite like emotionally loaded. I'd pay this so others will. It's a bit flawed, okay? Because you think about it, we are all going to have different financial priorities. There are things that I'm going to pay so much for. I go and get my nails done, and I pay $150 to get my nails done. You want to talk about pricing and money? Tell people that. It's so interesting what I hear back. And I'll hear people say, I go and I pay $30. And I'm like, I want to make sure that people's staff are paid well and that they can still be in business next week, and that the place is clean. Like, I love it. And I said, I'm there for 2 hours. They give me water. I make sure I drink my water. It's so interesting what's valued. I then can have a conversation with that same person that thinks that this is obscene. And they could tell me that they went and spent I don't know how much sport is, but they could say, oh, we went and saw some kind of game and we spent $1,000. And I'm like, I can't even imagine that. So this is where, when we look at us personally and our beliefs, if we are using that to kind of dictate our strategy, it's quite flawed because we are not our customer. Now, I'll just go with my gut is not a business model. If you are really into human design, you have probably been told things about, you've got to go with your gut. And I do believe that to a certain extent. However, the reason we want to put that to the side for the minute is because there is no worse feeling than feeling like that you have kind of trusted yourself and intuition to make decisions. And then you are really looking at the core of your business at end of financial year to realize that you have done a lot of work and you really don't have a lot to show for it. And I don't know, we finished end of financial year. I don't know if anyone has felt like that, where you've just felt like that you've done a lot of work and then you can see your profit and loss and you're like, oh no one is spending. That's just an opinion. I can't charge a lot of money is actually a belief. Anyone can. Trust me. I'm too new to charge a lot of money. Again, a lot of belief, and then a lot of money. This is a lot of money. That is a belief as well. So be really conscious of things that we say that they are fact when it's really a thought that we have. If you feel like that this is something that continually comes up for you, I can recommend a podcast. You're probably going to be like, yeah, yours. No, not mine. It is the Life Coach School podcast by Brooke Castillo. Now, I truly believe that you can have whatever you want. However, you need to, of course, have an understanding of what you're selling and the client that you're selling to. And what you may find is that, especially for people in the room that you're like, I'm a true expert. I've been doing this for a very long time. I am respected within my industry. Like, there are people within my industry that come to me for mentoring. I am so experienced. There sometimes becomes a little bit more of a challenging point where when we look at our pricing and we are like, I want to charge more, I want to elevate what I'm doing. And what happens because of that is we then have to shift the market that we're working with. So it's like we may be working with people that just had like a less of a budget. And now we're like, I want to charge a lot more. And then we shift segments. This is where we would look at our offers and we would bring something in to still serve that existing market. So I want you all right now to think about, people love to pay me. When I say that out loud to yourself, people love to pay me. And I want you to score yourself out of 10. Bonus points if you pop it in the chat. People love to pay me. I learned this from the Queen, Amanda Francis. She's got a great book called Rich as Fuck. Something I love to do is when I get something really good happen within my business, I will affirm that immediately. And I just imagine that this is my everyday. I had a great day yesterday. I think I made 12 grand. I was like, what a good day being me, on top of the world. Great for a Monday. And great for a Monday when I was in a workshop for what felt like half the day in Give Good Email. I'm like, I'm obsessed with this. People love to pay me. What a great start to the financial year. And what you can start to do is you may be like, no one's paying me 12 grand in a day. That's okay. What you can think about is when you send an email and if someone clicks a link to a sales page, people love to pay me. Look at this. They're keen. They're so excited. They are curious. People are watching your stories on Instagram when you're talking about a new offer. Oh my God, I love this. People are paying me with their attention. What we want to start to do is look for all the positive evidence that affirms that people love what they're doing and they love to pay us. If you have Google Analytics installed on your website, which we all should, if you haven't, please do this post the call. Go and have a look and see how many people browse your services. See how many people browse your sales pages. And think about it. If they're spending more than 1 second on there and they're not bouncing, they're curious. There is a genuine curiosity. People love to pay you. If they didn't, they'd be like, and they'd yeet their computer like into a lake. I guess if they're not near a body of water, the sink, okay? They would bounce straight away. But the fact that they're not, they are engaged, they are paying attention, incredible. So even if you are like, I'm yet to make my first dollar, or everything is really quiet, if you have someone's attention, that is the first sale. And I want you to just remember that. So even if you are like, my bank account says the opposite, you can be like, you know what? People love to pay me. Everyone is paying attention. They are not paying me yet with their money, but they are paying me with their time and their attention. And that 100% has a dollar value. So what we want to make sure is that we are not attaching all of these reasons to things in our business of why stuff may not be working well, okay? We want to make sure that we don't become a block. I work with so many different service providers within my programs and one-to-one, even on workshops like this. And what's really interesting is how people will get stuck. It's almost like they tattoo on their brain why something is the way that it is. And I am so conscious to be like, there's no such thing as a recession. What is cost of living? I just completely forget about it. And I know that this may feel like hard and very privileged to do, but the reason is, I'm a business. I'm here to make money. I'm here to sustain myself. And you think about it, if I can't do that, workshops like this won't happen. The podcast will not happen. Everything that I do cannot happen. So it is up to me to keep my business going. And you can get really clear here and ask yourself, what feels like a more empowering thought? No one is spending money because it's the cost of living and this is too expensive, or there is someone who is literally keen to pay some cash today. there is someone out there who is hunting for a service that I offer, and they are so keen to pay me. What we can start to do, and this is great for your mind, is, does anyone live near a coffee shop? Kind of? Yeah. Who drives? Do we drive? Yeah. Okay, cool. I say this is like a full-time pedestrian. Sure, I'm only in a car if it's an Uber or if it's my mum. So what I love to do whenever I'm having a day and I'm like, oh my God, this feeling hard. And trust me, I get back there. If I'm in the car and I'm driving and I just look and I see who's at a coffee shop. Oh, look at that. People spending their money. They could make coffee at home, but they're out. They're paying for a really nice experience. How awesome is that? People are just spending money. Look at that business. They're just getting a new sale like this. How cool is that? That's amazing. I'll go into Facebook groups. Is anyone in like-minded bitches drinking wine? If you are a service provider, be in there. If you sell any services, get your butt in there. Check it twice a day. Look in there at the amount of people who are like, I need a virtual assistant. I need someone for marketing. I need a new website. Have a look at all of the people who are like, I want to pay someone today. And this will just show your brain, oh, wow, people are spending money. And this is really good to remember, because even if you have the most abundant, incredible mindset, if you have the best pricing, it is easy when something kind of makes you a bit wobbly to go back to our old default mode. What we want to make sure is that we do not stay there, because that will not serve us to grow our business, okay? So what it is up to us to do is to create an evidence bag that is very, very, very hefty, and that it features like everything that kind of helps us grow and sell. What I love to do as well is something for you to do post this call is go back and have a look through your client records or your data or your sales and look and see like the spend of your customers. So this was some homework that I actually gave a client where she had said to me, no one spends high ticket with me. And I'm like, you sell retainers. People sell high ticket. People pay high tickets. She's like, no, they don't. No, they don't. They're only paying like $2,000 a month. And I'm like, that's a lot of money. And I said, they're doing it every month. I said, I think you'll be really surprised. I told her, I said, okay, humor me. Go and look at your records and see how much they've paid you in the lifetime. They paid her $50,000. 50. And why I'm telling you that you have to look for evidence is she was so adamant that she does not sell expensive things and that no one pays her. And I'm like, you've had someone in the lifetime of working with you pay you $50,000. And this is where, if we are so tuned into, this is why it is not working, this is why I cannot charge more, we are overlooking all of the evidence that we have. And it's going to vary for all of us, but we are going to overlook all of that evidence in favor of a belief that is really not helping us grow and support our business, okay? So what would be really good for you to do is to maybe just come up with like a little list of things to do, of how people like to pay you and where you have this evidence. People are paying me with their attention. They are clicking my sales page. They are browsing my services on my website. You know, my Instagram account, I've got a business account, but I can see in the analytics, the reach. They are watching my content. They're engaging. I've made a sale. I've made a couple sales to one person. I've sold $1. I have had like someone pay me every single month for the last 5 months. You know, I sell a service that's more than $10. I sell a service that's $100. And you want to get to this point where it's like you have so much evidence, and then what will happen is it starts to boost that up. And what's great about this is when the belief is there, this is where it's so incredible to do all of your strategy work. I do have a tool later on that is going to be really, really helpful for you around this too. But it is so important for us to hold the belief even if no one is paying you. Even if you have no evidence of this new level, I'm sure that you all can find evidence somewhere. And even if it feels like your competitors are charging less. One of the ways that I feel like that this is going to sound really up myself, but I feel like I've won entrepreneurship, right? I'm like, I've won, give me a medal. Is no one online knows if I'm having the worst sales week or month compared to our best. I'm the same. You can look back through my stuff. I am the same person. We've had launches where and this actually happened recently in our recent GGE launch. We had 3 weeks of no sales, nothing at all. And I was still like, this is the best course. This is the best program. This is life-changing. There are so many people out there that are going to, when they see this, they are going to be so excited to buy this. And this is a skill, and it is going to take time to cultivate. And why this is so important is I see this a lot with businesses, is you will then make business decisions off the back of something that's not working well. Let's pretend your pricing is up here, right? It's really high. You go to sell and you launch an offer and it doesn't sell for whatever reason. Maybe it just wasn't a great week. Maybe you didn't show up as much as you could have. Maybe the messaging was just a bit, or maybe the sales process let you down, or you didn't proactively sell. What happens if it doesn't sell here? Do you think that you're going to want to sell something that level or more expensive? No, you're probably going to want to sell something less and less and less and less and less. Okay. And you think about it, these business decisions have been made off the back of stuff that is happening within your business. We want to make sure that we have a really hot mindset with this, because I could give you the best strategy. I could tell you all, it makes sense for you to keep your deliverables the same and triple the price of your offers. We could run a spreadsheet and you could physically see that on a spreadsheet. I am losing money every time I sell. I am going to need to double my rates. But the problem is if your mind is still looking at lack and how this is not working out, you're not going to follow through on that plan. And if you do, you're going to be like, so I've got this new offer and I get that it's like $400 and I know we've got cost of living, but trust me, this is so good. And like what you can do to buy this, just give up a coffee a day. And I had a client and she bought that, and you can see here how the conviction in the pitch is going to be very different depending on your belief that you have. And if you are like justifying, and if you feel like this is so much money, the problem is that's going to come across when we're pitching and when we're talking about our offers. And we don't want that. Okay. We want this to be like, this is the best money that I've ever invested in my business. Even if it's $10,000, even if it's 50, even if it's $20, whatever. The price for now is irrelevant. We want people to look at that and be like, that is the best deal that I've ever seen. This feels like such a good decision. And that starts from us. Now we know that pricing comes from us. All of this comes from us. I want to let you know about some sneaky little blocks. I learned about money blocks from the queen of money blocks, Denise Duffield-Thomas. I don't know if anyone has heard of her. If you haven't, she's incredible. She's been doing this consistently for such a long, long, long time. And why I love Denise, she is exactly who you see online. She's an incredible person. She's beautiful, really big heart, and she has great books as well. These are some ways that we don't charge our worth and that we hold ourselves back. Never increasing prices. Do you know what's really interesting? No one's price around here went up July 1st. Businesses are really they're quite smart with this. Everyone's prices have gone up. My business is above like a bulk foods place and everything has gone up minimum 10 to 20%. Everything. I have seen everyone's price completely go up. And when I asked, I said, oh, did you have a price increase? They're like, oh yeah, we put them up. We put them up like 1 to 2 times a year. And this is just standard for the business. So you can ask yourself, when was the last time I had a price increase on my services? And what you need to remember is that if everything else has gone up and we are the same, we have lost money. Because you think about it, the cost to our business, our cost of goods, like our life, if everything has gone up and we are not raising the price of our services, we will be losing money. Not having a business bank account is another one, believe it or not, because you don't believe that this is going to grow to be a big business. I've had this recently where I have only just now become a company. I've always run my business like we're a company, but I've still been a sole trader setup. And everyone's like, why did you not switch? And I'm like, oh, it stressed me out too much. And I was like, I'll just pay more tax. And then I got to a point where I'm like, we can't keep doing this. This is just insane. But it's so interesting, the mindset work I had to do around this shift, even though it made so much sense and it was so logical that I was still holding myself back. There's a big one, exchanging services instead of charging. Who's done that before? Oh, let's just swap. Oh, we'll swap. And then no one has money to pay anything. You have to stop doing that, okay? You're allowed to do one a year. Reluctance to pay for tech and business upgrades. So I've had some clients who were like, I do not want to pay for my email marketing software. I'm like, you have 10,000 people on Instagram. You just need a good strategy and you're just going to make back that $20 or whatever, however much it is, like instantly. Avoiding invoicing clients. Who's felt like that before where someone's really eager to pay and you're like, okay, hold on, let me go for coffee then. waiting long periods of time to deliver quotes, undercharging and over-delivering. Also, having a price increase and then adding a whole stack of services. Getting advice from friends with money blocks is a big one. This used to be my favorite little hobby to do. I would think that something is too expensive and I would be like, no one's going to buy this. And guess who I went to? I went to my cheapest friend that never spent any money, who is going to tell me, you want good advice? Go to a delusional Leo. They're fantastic. They'll tell you everything is amazing. Constantly discounting, ignoring finances and taxes, not looking at your business bank account, structuring your business for small and not for scale. This was me. Saying yes to the wrong clients because we believe that we need to take that money because there is no other cash in the world. Believing that you constantly need to upskill before charging. Getting testimonial before putting out paid services or beta testing. This to me is wild. And this is, I believe, the curse of an expert because you are so stressed about ruining someone's life or stealing their money that you are let me make sure that this is perfect. I'm going to give you some advice. What you need to remember is you can sell the best services. You can be the best of what you do. But when you sell something to a client or you partner with another person, you do not have 100% responsibility because you are still relying on that other person, which is why beta testing just does not make sense. Because the problem is you could be beta testing, just say a course. You have all of these people that come in and then no one does anything. And you're like, oh my God, I am terrible. Maybe people actually need to have the investment for them to show up and do it. And it's that, okay? So just make sure that you don't fall into the beta testing or the trial trap. Fear of investing in your business because you're worried it's not going to come back. Worried charging too much will make people think that you're greedy. Not advertising how people can work with you. Worrying about moving into the next tax bracket, becoming a company, charging GST, making this official. Setting your prices by committee. What I mean by this is putting a poll out. What would you charge for this? If I was to release a course on this, what price point would make sense? Don't do that. Signing off by saying you'll discount and then the worst, assuming what people can afford. It's really interesting running these free workshops where most of the call to action at the end, I've said, hey, if you want to work with me more, join Business Bang. Business Bang is paying full $8,000. I have had people tell me, sell the $35 offer, work people up. And I'm like, but why? The most transformation is that one. So I should pitch that one. And if people want to work with me and they're like, that's not in my budget right now, great, I've got something for $35. That's not in my budget. Great, I've got the podcast. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're not making decisions based on assumptions that you're making about your audience. Okay. So pay attention to these little blocks because the problem that these are going to have is this is also going to dramatically impact your pricing. The cool thing is now that you have awareness, you're going to know this moving forward. So the fact that we've had these conversations, it's going to be really interesting if you, even this week, if you notice some people in your circle who are like, oh my God, I've got no money at the moment. No one has money. Notice how if you feel a reluctance to then pitch and sell your services, or notice how you sign off your quotes. Just pay attention. I have had a client before and she would sign off her quotes by saying, if this is too expensive and you need something cheaper, let me know. I'm like, we're going to just remove that. And it's let's just say, here are the options. Let me know what one works for you. Do you know what's so interesting? She never had anyone say, I can't afford this. Can I have something cheaper after that? Ever again, ever. And I don't think we realize the little things that we do. So the great news is now you are going to be so hyper aware of everything. And it is going to feel like maybe you will freak out a bit. That's okay. And the reason you're going to be freaking out is you're going to notice a whole lot more things that are happening. And this then gives you the chance and the ability to address them. So when you go to type that, you can be like, okay, pause. Let me sit with this for a second. I'm so aware that I really want to win this work and I want this client and I am worried that they can't afford this. But what I'm going to remember is I'm a business and they're a business and we are both adults. And that if this is something that they want and it is currently outside of their budget or it's a bigger investment than they thought, I'm going to let them tell me that. And maybe they can ask for a payment plan, or maybe they can say, I really want to do this, but I kind of was working with this sum of money. Do you have anything in that? Then you can go from there. And I tell myself this all the time. So it might not be that, but it could be something else that is coming up for you. And this is where, moving forward from today, we then get to address that. And you'll shock yourself when you look at these little things and you fix them, how quickly you're like, okay, cool, bam. I now have the confidence to charge this. I now have the confidence. I can work out my profitability and I can look at this. It makes sense on paper. Oh, this feels a bit stretchy compared to what I was charging before, but I have so much belief that I can make this work and this is so, so, so worth it. So now I'm going to teach you 2 different tools. The first is a focus wheel. Has anyone heard of this before? I think from memory, it's like an Abraham Hicks thing. And I heard about this from Gala Darling. I remember watching a YouTube video from her. Oh my God, this would have been like maybe 10 years ago. And she was talking about a focus wheel. I love them. I've used them for such a variety of clients and they absolutely work. So what we want to think about with a focus wheel is this is really good to do if you have a thought that's coming up or something that you keep thinking about, or on the flip side of that, something that you want. So let's pretend that you have an idea and you're like, I want to charge, I want to do this thing and I want it to be $2,000. Like I teach a $2,000 VIP day, or I sell like a $50 whatever, okay? So something that you really want, or a belief that you want to have, or a win in your business that you want. And we've got 2 examples that I'll go through. What we do is we kind of do this little circle, and then it's like these little sunbursts. And what we do is we put the supporting evidence around the outside. And imagine this like a ladder. So if we are on the ground, then we've got a ladder, and then at the top of the ladder is the belief that we really want to have. And why it's up the top of the ladder is because if we were to kind of score ourselves, how do we feel about this out of 10? How do we feel about this being true and excitable? It probably is going to feel like a 2 because maybe you're just not there or it feels scary. So what we do is we start to just get behind and go up the ladder with little things that we know that we can get behind that feel like true in the moment. So here's an example. This was from when I ran this as the email workshop. So, I can make $10,000 from email. Maybe that's in total. Maybe that's in a month. Maybe that's from one email, whatever. The first, well, I've got email subscribers. That's true. You can get behind that. And that's important because we can't make money on email if we don't have people on our email list. Someone has purchased something from me. Hold on, we're covering this stuff. I've got a $2,000 product that I've sold 5 of. So I have evidence that I can do this. I'm already getting that in attention money. Like I have people that are paying me. When we look at my audience, I know that there's already $10,000 worth of sales there, and I already have these people's eyeballs on my stuff. That's the first step to sales. I've got people who have opted in to be sold to. They have downloaded a services guide. They've downloaded a lead magnet. They've requested more information. Someone has bought something from an email, so I know I can make this work. I have sent an email, and then 10 minutes later, I've had someone buy something. I have all the tools and knowledge to go and make a bag. I know within myself that I've got a good service. I know that this is going to change people's lives, of course. And then I've made 10 grand before, and I've got more engaged eyeballs on email. And what you can see here is you'll read this. So it's like, I can make 10 grand on email, and then you'll just go around and you'll read all of these. And as you do this, you will start to feel like you are, again, adding more to that evidence bag about how this is possible for you. So I can sell $20,000 projects. I've collectively sold 20 grand in services to a client. So maybe this for you is you're now like, I want to sell a $20,000 project. And that feels scary. Maybe you are now switching markets and you're like, let me come up with a corporate offer. And this is going to be like a month transformation within like a bigger business, and it's $20,000, and you feel terrified because you're currently serving a market that are small business owners, and the most pricey thing that you sell is $2,000. And now you're like, I want to sell something for 20 grand. And this, you feel terrified about it. What we want to make sure is we want to work through this before we get to the pitch. So don't make the mistake of not talking about your offers and your pricing until it comes to the sale. Because what we want is for when that sales call to action happens, and a lot of the time this is maybe happening on a Zoom call or in person, we want that to be so neutral. So we don't want the first time we say $20,000 to be in front of the client. We want to be like, this service is $20,000 and I think that you are going to love it. We want it to feel like it's just so normal. It's like us ordering a coffee. And you can see here how we've just again built this evidence up. So you can do this with anything that you want in business. So if you are feeling like that you know that you need to have a price increase, or you're wanting to put an offer out there and you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. Put that in the center, okay? And just make this like really clear where you're like, yep, okay, I can see that. I can feel that. Notice how that feels in your body. Notice the thoughts that come up. And then what we want to do is we look for evidence and we add that around how this is possible. And this is really good to kind of physically write this out and then keep it and look at it. And you can do this all the time. You can do focus wheels for absolutely everything and anything. And I went through a stage when I started this business that I have now. I was doing these all the time because I felt like I was really blocked around selling and growing. And I just felt like that I didn't have a whole lot of evidence. Okay. So do this. It will 100% help you. When you've done that and you feel like you've got a good abundant pricing, this is where we are going to run the pricing on some offers. Now, the reason I said you're going to want to give me a Google review is because if you do that, and I know some of you have already done that, just let me know. I'll send you this spreadsheet as my thank you. Okay. We're going to work through it right now because I feel like a lot of you have come to calls and you've seen this, but I want to kind of talk you through like why we do it and how this kind of makes sense. So this is if you are selling services. However, you probably could make this work with like e-com. You just need to be aware of your cost of goods. Actually, you can make this work, with e-com. What am I talking about? You'll just put your cost of goods here. So it's like if you are making a product, you'll just have to put that here. Why I created this. It's so funny that I never used to kind of have a formal process for doing this for myself. I would kind of do like mind maths. I would just be like, yep, okay, cool. If I'm worth this, then I'm going to have to sell that. And then I would work that out in my head. I started working with a lot of clients and I was running an email mini mind. And what this was, it was for people who sell email as a service, how they could like actually sell more than just I'll do a newsletter for you for a month. What I noticed when I had all of these service providers come to me is that I'm like, none of these people are profitable. I'm like thinking if you're charging $800 for a day, VIP day, that sounds like a lot of money if you're telling someone that has a salary. But I know that there's back and forth. I know that you've got tools that you use that you have to pay for. I know that there's research. I know that there's recap. And that day isn't just a day. There then becomes like a month or a week. And then you've got the fact that someone is using that and they can go and make $50,000 and that you may be solving a core problem that they never need to come back to you for. So what I needed to do was create a resource for my clients where they could physically see where they were losing money. Okay. So how this works, you've got here, step 1, proposed price of the offer. So let's workshop this. What's a service? Pop it in the chat. Something that we would all know, like something, it's not something like super strange where you're like, I'm a Rogaine instructor. And everyone's like, what is that? Okay, business coach. So let's pretend that they've got an offer. We've got a 3-month container. They love the word container. And then within that, we've got, let's just say 2 sessions. 2 sessions per month equals 6, and then in between support. If you have someone that's kind of just thinking about pricing and they're not thinking about the deliverables, they're not thinking about energy, they're not thinking about the fact that they only can do so many of these. If you are physically working with a client, you physically cannot work with another client. Let's pretend that you're throwing out some money and you're like, oh my God, $6,000 feels like so much money. 6,000 feels a lot. The problem is if you're looking at that and we're not working everything else out, if we're not running the numbers, you could be like, okay, 6,000 feels like it's a stack of money. If we were sitting down in a session and we were working this out, I'd be like, okay, cool. What's your hourly rate? And they're like, well, I don't have an hourly rate. This is normally what people say to me. I don't have an hourly rate. I'm like, okay, cool. Do you do once-off business coaching? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, perfect. How much is that? They could say, well, my coaching session that I charge is normally $300. I'm like, great. So we're doing 6 of them. That's $1,800. And then I'm like, what are your other things? Like, how much in between support would there be? So how many weeks is that? 3 months? Is that 12 weeks? Yes. 12 weeks in between support. Maybe you're like, well, you know what? We actually do quite a lot because people will usually send me something. I'll review their work. You know, we've got some meltdowns or at the start, some things happen. I'm going to bill myself differently because I don't need to be physically present. This can be something I can do on the go as I'm in the supermarket, or I can be sitting on the couch. So I'm going to bill that as half, as 150. But I know that when we look at the hours, although it's 12 weeks, it's not really 12 hours. It's more like 36. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? We're still losing money. And this is where if you don't run the numbers, clients will feel like that I just need to sell more. And then all of a sudden they're just losing money. What's interesting is if you are a sole trader, you may be like, but I'm not losing money because I'm still getting $6,000. But what you need to remember is the running costs of your business and everything that's associated with you running your business is going to be paid from this offer. So you need to not only pay GST, pay tax. I have gone with a 30% tax rate here, which you would kind of need to look at. I prefer to personally put more away and then pay myself like a bonus from the business than feel like that I do not have enough. But you've got to remember that, like, if you look at this now, who felt like that $6,000 felt like a bit? Did anyone feel like that felt like a lot of money at the start? And now, yeah. Okay. And now who feels like when you're looking at this, you're like, shit, with all of the energy and time that goes into this, am I prepared to lose money every time I get a client? So what we can do next here is this is where we do two things. We can look at the price of the offer. Now, what we need to make sure is that if you are selling to a particular market, there is like what something is also worth is what someone is willing to pay. Now, you can change that based on the messaging, your sales process, like the terms of the offer or the sales terms. So it's like, oh, we can do a payment plan. We can do this. I'm going to do a guarantee, whatever that is. But you're still going to have a cap on what people will pay. For example, Business Bang, if that was $50,000, I could not sell that to the segment that I was working with. It would have to be sold to a completely different segment. That's a very different offer. So this is where if you're then like, oh, it's $50,000, what we need to do is remember what our market will pay within reason, and we need to look at the deliverables. So let's run some figures here. Let's pretend we're going to make it $8,000. We're not going to change this because what we want to remember is, well, if we are doing a coaching session with a client in a package, that we can't do one out of a package. So it's like you think about it, we don't want to be doing $100 an hour work where we're then losing, where we can't do $300 an hour work. But what we're going to just remember is that, well, they're packaging them up. So let's just make this $280, okay? Because they're buying multiple at once. But what we may need to do is put a cap on the deliverables and the support. And this is where you can see here, when we look at our money blocks, if you don't have these in check, you will want to over deliver. You'll be like, oh my God, this is so much money. $6,000 is so much money. I need to earn that. And I'm going to show up and I'm going to check in all the time and I'm going to over deliver. I'm going to give them a whole abundance of resources. Do not do that. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to cap this at 12 hours. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my clients, okay, cool. This is how this looks. I'm going to put some requirements in. I want you to be self-led. I want you to solve the problem first. And then I want you to come to me. I'm going to also say that when you message me, just try to limit your voice messages to 2 minutes. Let's keep this really nice and actionable. And now let's take this down to 12 hours. Look at that. You're profitable. You've got 26.5%. But you can see here, we've accounted for our wage and our rate. This can cover the running costs of our business as well. So when I do my pricing, and this is obviously a very, very big topic, but when I bill myself, if I bill myself out at like $990 an hour, I'm not paying myself $990. It's like, that's what the thing is worth. I take a salary from my business, which I always have, and then the business has overflow. Look at this. This looks good, doesn't it? Like, this is now something that you can get behind. So you can see here, because of this, we had to kind of like make some changes with the offer and what we're doing. And now when we look at this $8,000, it's like, okay, cool. I know every time I get a client, I'm going to make a really nice profit. This is fantastic. And then you think about it, if you do the mindset work, you can easily sell that. But the problem is, if you are still thinking $6,000 is expensive, this is where you will build a business where you feel like that you're burning out, you hate everything, you somehow never have enough money, you feel like you're resenting your clients. This is a big thing. If you feel really resentful, you need to look at if you are over delivering because you feel like that you need to, or if you are definitely underpricing the service. The reason we want money left over is because I want you to think about this. If you are busy and you cannot take more clients, if you are fully booked and you cannot have more clients, every single person should have a really sexy wage and you should be able to invest in everything that you want. You should have marketing money and you should have some left over. And if you don't have that, it tells me that there is something happening within your business where it's leaking profit. Now you can see here how you've just said, oh, I do extras. Oh, there's energy. You also need to consider your own energy, because especially for people that really have to use like their brain or their energy or their body, you can't have 100 clients because you'll just burn out. You probably can do that for a week and then you'll fall into a heap after that. So we want to think about like sustainability and how can we really sustain this? So what you then can think about is realistically, how many clients could I have? How many packages could I have going at one time? And what we want to remember is not every client is going to be fantastic. Some things happen. Sometimes we're chasing money. Sometimes they get sick. Sometimes we get sick. And then you need to look at, okay, cool. If this is the capacity and this is what I can earn from that, am I going to be happy to finish the year and have that? And if not, this is where you've got to make some changes. What I'll do with clients is we will look at the price of the offer, but we will also tinker here. And I also set some boundaries with them. So I have said to people, if you want to over deliver on every offer, that's fine, but this will happen. If you're happy for that to happen, then that's okay. And every time they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now you know. And this is why I'm a huge fan of running the numbers. It feels sometimes a bit confronting. And it can, especially if you've been doing this for a while and you've kind of been pricing on vibes. But you can see here how the belief stuff so much comes first and why we spend a lot of time on that. Because if we don't have that, when you get to this can feel like, oh, there's no way I can charge $2,000. There's no way I can do this. Or no one's going to pay at cost of living. I'm not good enough. And this is why before we get into anything strategy, we want to remember who the fuck we are, that we are incredible, that we are the best at what we do. No one does it like us. And we want to remember that. And then when we come and we run the numbers here, it's like, no, I'm actually really skilled at what I do. They don't need all of these other extras. Or maybe I'm actually record them a little resource hub. So now there's no extras. I don't need to do that. Maybe I'm going to set aside a weekend or half a day and I'm going to record some stuff and put that in there. And maybe they're not going to get everything. Maybe they're going to get 2 things. And then what I'm going to do when I offboard them is I'm going to say, hey, I've created this beautiful little resource hub. It has a number of little additions in here. If you want this post, you can pay $500 and we can sell them that. And look at this, we just got more profitable. And then you think about it, if we're adding this little $500 thing on there, let's just assume that everyone's going to buy it. Oh, look at that. How profitable we are. How fun is this? And this is what, like, I love this so much because when you get this right, this is where you'll never kind of be at a loss of why things in your business aren't working and why when you hear people say you can't just sell more or you can't just get more clients, because sometimes it doesn't work like that. And I think if you haven't seen this in action, this is where you may be like, I can't really understand how that's possible, because if I sell more, I should be able to make more money. And sometimes why I'm like, every time you get a client, you're actually going backwards. What we want to remember is if you say that you are profitable and if you say that your business is doing well, but if you cannot cover a conservative livable wage and basic business expenses, you are not profitable. I want to make sure, I don't take too much money from my business. I take what do I take? I think my wage at the moment, I'm on $1,200 a week after tax. And then I will pay myself a bonus every quarter or sometimes at the end of every year. So I would rather personally have the money just sitting in the bank in case something happens. And then when we've got enough overflow, I'll just pay myself extra. Now, price increases are not price increases if you add deliverables. They're just not. You've just restructured the offer. So this is where, again, running the numbers in a spreadsheet is fantastic because you have to keep yourself honest and you will see the figures change. You also need to make sure that you are accounting for tax, business overheads, your wage, and your profit. Every business will have different profit margins. This depends. It depends on every business. I wish that I could give you a do this, do that, this is how to do business. It's not. I had a friend and they had a cake shop. They've since sold the business. And every time they got at 70% capacity, they upped their prices. And they got to a point where they were 2 to 3 times more expensive than any other business. And that was just their strategy. If we are getting close to fully booked, we'll raise our prices. And she's like, sometimes that will happen twice in a month. She's like, that's just what we do. So every business, this will look different. The most important thing is that you actually run the numbers and that you are happy with what you see. And then my wonderful bookkeeper, Sharon Jones, she says that profit is your reward for being a good business owner. I remember when I heard this, I loved it. And this came up in a group call and someone was like, ouch. Because I think sometimes what we want to remember is us being really good at what we do. So like coaching or running sessions or selling websites, that's actually not our business. Our business is all of the stuff that we do with our strategy, our pricing, all of that. That is the business side of it. So if you can get that working for you, this is where you'll have this really beautiful overflow into your sexy bank account. I will say that if you do need to have a dramatic price increase, and when I say dramatic, I mean we're tripling something. The best way to do that is to kind of create a new offer. Like, hey, I'm doing this, let's launch this, and then start to do that. Obviously, you're going to need a strategy. Don't make a big deal about it though. So if you want to increase your prices, just increase them. I'm changing the rate of my strategy session and I'm just putting it up. I'm not doing a big song and dance about it. I'm like, it's been on the website. If you haven't inquired, you haven't booked it. Like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just putting it up. So you can 100% do that too. You do need to, though, however, consider clients that are currently paying you money. So if you're putting your retainers up, have a bit of a strategy on how that looks instead of just being like, hey fam, next month we're going up 40%. You can't do that if you're happy to lose clients. That's okay. But just consider the people that are paying you money. My tips, don't price on vibes or ChatGPT. Use actual strategy. Please, please, please. Say your prices out loud, practice until neutral. So you want to speak this into existence so that when you pitch, this feels very normal. Talk about money like it's normal because it is. Your rates are part of marketing. Do not hide them. If in doubt, put the magical word from. This service is from this, but just have something out there because I think that this can be a block if you want people to contact you. And remember that not everyone is going to say, yes, that's part of business, it's part of life because not everyone is your client. I want you to just score your belief now when we think about people love to pay me. Maybe you've had a shift since we've spoken about the stuff at the start and all of this. You're like, yeah, I'm actually really good at this. I'm incredible. I am worth charging like really like a good amount of money. So just notice kind of what comes up. If you've loved this and you want to keep working with me, I do have a wonderful entrepreneurial mentorship called Business Bang. I call it an entrepreneurial mentorship because we really do a lot of mindset work and work like this. We, of course, have actual business strategy in there present, but I love this. I made a decision earlier in the year. I'm going to limit the amount of people I work with. I have a few competitors and they've got like 100 plus, 200 plus people. That makes me feel physically sick. I do not want to work with 200 people at once. I don't like it. So we're limiting this to 30. There is a price increase happening in August as well. So if you want information on that, just come find me on Instagram. Let's have a hot little chat. But do we have any questions? I probably got about 10 minutes for questions. I'm an 8 now. Yes, girlfriend, I'm obsessed with this. Sorry if that clap was a bit loud. I keep forgetting I've got a microphone there. I think I'm stuck on the I need to know more. Definitely given me food for thought and highlighted where I need to focus on my mindset. Yeah, it's interesting about the needing to know more, but what I always remember is I get better at what I do the more that I do it. But the only way that I can do more of what I do is to make sure that I stay in business. Isn't that interesting to think about? So it's like you can't get better at what you do if you're not doing the work. But you can't do the work if your business fails to exist. So just remember that. And what I tell myself as well is if I feel like that I've worked with a client and I have done something outside of my depth, like if it's something new, this gives me a moment to kind of prove that I'm great at what I do. It gives me a moment to kind of like come up with a different process or see a different way of doing it. And if I feel like that there's a bit more mental work that's present, or I've had to kind of like come up with a new process, it always is going to kind of like work out in the end. Are we feeling like we can charge our worth even though we know that's not a thing? Beautiful. Thank you for an incredible workshop. Thank you, everyone. Have a spectacular day. You've learned a lot today. So just make sure that you get up, you shake the energy off, have some water, just move. I like to kind of go for a bit of a walk, and I will open chat or Claude on my notes app, and I'll just dictate everything in my phone that's coming up. Okay. So just get it out of your head and into something, and you can come and look at that later. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you later. Mwah.